Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this first live streaming of mine, where I'm going to talk about a particular lesson that I have in mind, which is to analyze Mind Your Language. I do not know how many of you have watched this British sitcom, but if you haven't, it's worth watching, and then you can give me your comments. So for this, I hope it will be about 30 minutes or even less. So for the next 30 minutes, we are going to watch parts of this series, Season 1, Episode 1 of Mind Your Language, and we are going to see what are the areas which are funny, and why, what we can do about it. Okay, so let's start with the first short clip that I have for you. Alright, so we have Nadim, and he's a student and he wants to learn English. And let's look at the things that he said. He said something along this line: hopping to be unrolled. And what does that mean? Well, it's just that the thing is that his intention is to say hoping to be enrolled. Now this happens, I think, among foreigners, where we hear bits and pieces of what is said by other people, and it sounds like, perhaps to me, it sounds like hopping, sounds like unrolled. Now if I were there, I would know what he was talking about. Context would provide me that, What about this one, syllabus? What do you think it means? Yeah, so it's actually syllabus. Again, English is a language where pronunciation, it's very difficult to pronounce certain words because of the spelling. And if you know how to spell syllabus, you know that it's spelled S-Y-L-L-A-B-U-S. So he pronounces syllabus. Okay, so the next bit is this. He says, I am not going where I'm looking. So he's using these present continuous tense. Mr. Brown corrected him by saying, I wasn't looking where I was going. Now, for Ali, it's not a matter of grammatical inaccuracy. He wasn't thinking along this line. He was thinking along the line of meaning. So he was thinking Mr. Brown was actually not looking where he was going. So that's why he says that makes the two of us. What makes this a joke, what makes this funny, is the fact that Ali looks at it from the meaning point of view. Mr. Brown looks at it from the grammatical point of view. So okay, that explains why it was funny. Alright, so let's look at this dialogue, or this conversation between Miss Courtney and Mr. Brown. She says, I'm referring to the fact that you're a man. I distinctly requested the local authority to send me a woman teacher, especially in view of what happened to Mr. Warburton. And who is this Mr. Warburton? He was teaching English to foreign students last term. I'm afraid it only lasted a month, and then he departed. The word departed is understood as dead, passed away, but that was not what Miss Courtney meant. Demented, that means he went crazy. Why? Because the strain was too much for him. Typical of the male sex. Now the word typical to me is very stereotypical. She sees men as not having the required stamina. Or he seemed to be able to cope at first, but then one day he just snapped. It was really quite disgusting. So the stereotype here is that the teaching career, and anyway this sitcom was made in the 70s, was specially for women. I do not know about your country, but a lot of people view teaching as a career or a profession meant for women. So it's actually reflected here, because she said typical. That means the male gender could not, they would not be able to handle the strain. Really, what did he do? So this is what happened to Mr. Warburton. He went out of the classroom, he took off his clothes, and he sang this song. And of course, Mr. Brown found that distressing. And he reassured her by saying, no worry, don't worry on my account. That means don't worry, you don't have to worry about me at all. And she says, of course I'm not worried about you. Then he thanked her for her confidence. That means, thank you because you trusted me. It's nothing to do with that, she said. We've had the window frames nailed down. So this is the thing that made it funny. The twist, or whatever you want to call it here. Alright, so here we have this confusion of colors. When Mr. Brown says I'm brown, he didn't say I'm Mr. Brown. He says I'm brown. Ali understood it as, he mentioning his color of his skin. So he says you are committing a mistake. Now the word, you notice Nadim has this problem of always adding ing to his verb. He always uses the present continuous. You are committing a mistake. Now the correct way of saying is you commit a mistake, or you make a mistake, or you made a mistake. Mistake, yes please. You are not brown, we are brown, you are white. So that's basically what sitcoms are. They find certain expressions which are misunderstood by other people, and therefore you find humor in it. Right, let's move on. Alright, here we have this Greek student, and he was saying that, okay, let's look at the thing that he actually said here. He said, I walk with sheeps, okay? And we realized that the walk here, what he meant was, later on we are going to see, is it really walk? You walk with sheeps, a shepherd, because he pluralized sheep. If I were in Mr. Brown's position, I would assume that he meant the animal, because he lengthened the E sound. He said sheep. Of course, he added the S. We know that that is grammatically wrong, but the context was such that he thought it was actually sheep. This is not, no, he didn't work in a farm. He worked with, he says, he made this sound. So we realize what he meant was ships. Now you notice that in English, if you have a long E sound like sheep and a short I sound like ship, they mean totally different things. So this is reflected here. And they pronounce tankers as tonkers as well. So a bit of confusion there. But because of the context that he was working, in the ship, so Mr. Brown knew it has to be tankers. All right. In the morning, that means to say we know that this class is held in the evening because he couldn't go to the bank to have it converted, so he has to do it the next day. So here are some of those currencies that you have. From all this, you will know that this cannot be this film cannot be in the 21st century because of the currency. A lot of these European countries, they no longer use pesetas or francs or Deutschmarks, they use euros. So a bit of context here. When we look at this, we know that this series was not actually made in the 21st century, but much earlier. Okay, and of course, if the currency exchange rate was good, it's best that he has it converted as soon as possible. Okay. All right. So I do not know about you. When you were in, say for example, in your primary years, were you exposed to this kind of grammatical rule? Let's go back here again and see the thing that he mentioned. So if you look at the board, he has I am, you are, he or she, or it is, we are, you are. Were you exposed to all these rules? I remember when I was in primary school, these were the rules that were written on the board, and somehow it was sort of like drummed into our heads that, if it's I, it has to be am, not I is. So I mean, these are basic rules, but I think nowadays when we teach our students, we don't usually teach it this way. We teach it slightly different. We use it in context. So the context he uses, as we can see now, hold on, is this. He's going to ask Ali. Alright, so what we have here, hold on, what we have here is that Mr. Brown is going to use this verb to be in context by using Ali as an example, but I do not know if this really happens, or this can happen in your classroom or not. But honestly, I think this is a fetch, and it's far-fetched that Nadim didn't understand the intention of Mr. Brown. So if you look at this whole exchange between Mr. Brown and Ali, the funny thing, or to some it could be funny, is the fact that he thought that when he made the sentence, it must be from his part. So when he says you are, let's look at this. He says, for example, you're from Pakistan. So he cannot repeat you are from Pakistan because Mr. Brown is not a Pakistani. He says I am from Pakistan, yes, but now use you are. But I cannot say you are from Pakistan because you are not, are you? This is perfect English. See here, you are from Pakistan. Sorry, I cannot say, Yeah, not bad. All right, repeat after me. You are English, and so on and so forth. So that's the exchange between the two of them. We've already come to the end of today's session. If you have any questions at this point in time, feel free to type in the chat and I will respond to it accordingly. Alright, it's fine. I noticed that this particular live stream is interesting because I don't see anyone actually attending. So it matters not. If you happen to watch it at another time, you can always let me know what you think about it. And if you're still interested, you can always come and book a lesson with me, and we will discover the other episodes in MYL language. And if you have any questions or anything, you can always come back to me. Well, I think I have to end now. I hope you enjoy yourself. Take care.